Well, the president spent a big chunk of his speech last night touting the current state of the U.S. economy. African-American and Hispanic unemployment are at record lows, he said. The stock market has hit all-time highs. All of us are aware of that. In the wake of the new tax bill, Apple and other companies have announced plans to repatriate billions in overseas earnings, bring them back here. But are the signs as good as the president says? And if they are, does he deserve credit for them? Patrick Byrne is in business, to put it mildly. He's founder and president of Overstock.com. Austin Goolsbee is a professor at University of Chicago's Booth School of Business. He was one of President Obama's economic advisors, and they both join us tonight. Thanks both for coming on. So, Patrick Byrne, you run a big business, a business that you started. So you're at, I think, a pretty good place to assess the effect of these economic policies on business. How's it been?
Well, it's definitely been positive. It's been positive in a number of ways. The tax, first of all, as a good Keynesian like Austin knows, part of the economy is the animal spirits. And certainly I would say this president has been very good for the animal spirits of the economy. In addition, the tax relief is absolutely overdue and necessary. And something that gets overlooked as far as the economy is he's pro-rule of law. He basically went to the Federalist Society, is what we read in the paper, and he got them to suggest who's all the federal judges, the next 60 that I should appoint. And
yes,
that's a very pro-rule of law move, and that's very good for the economy.
So, Austin, here you have a man who runs a multi-billion-dollar company saying these policies have helped his company. Isn't that the acid test?
Well, that's one. I believe Donald Trump deserves some credit for the economy. I believe that the objection was the trying to take 100% of the credit for the economy, and that's where we disagree. So if you take the black unemployment rate in the United States, it is at record lows. It fell 8 percentage points under President Obama. It has fallen another 1 percentage point under Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump deserves some credit, and in the tax plan, there are certainly things that gave large amounts of tax-cutting money to corporations, and they're quite happy about that. And I hope that that will lead to higher growth in the economy. I want that to be true. But I think it's a little, I don't know what the correct word is, but maybe inconsiderate for the president in the State of the Union to try to pretend like he did it all. And I think the fact that 60% of the American people credit President Obama for the strong economy and about 35%
There's no doubt people
Trump
are still deeply grateful to President Obama for all he did. Patrick Byrne, the immigration question is one that's often discussed in economic terms, and the idea is that if you don't have millions upon millions of people with less than a high school education coming into your country at all times, then your economy is going to collapse. Is that your perspective on it?
No, absolutely not. I think that Milton Friedman put it correctly, that we have to at some point choose between having open borders or having a social safety net. He, as a pure libertarian, would have taken open borders. I think that the government has a responsibility. It's consent of the governed, and I think the governed want the government to look out for them and not for the whole world. So at some point, we have to recognize that not only does it stress the social safety net, but it provides a lot of competition for our less skilled workers, which is perhaps, and so by slowing the, what I really take some offense at, though, is the idea, I got to follow the law. You and I have to follow it. I follow it. So I think, let's start with the premise that let's all figure out that we all agree we got to follow the law, and then we can agree what it is. But there seem to be people suggesting in the conversation that we can be fuzzy about the law. Well, if they can be fuzzy, can I be fuzzy about
Well, that's a great question. I want to put that to Austin Goolsbee, who I think is a law-abiding character, but we're hearing your party say, not just say, but shout, that in cases where there's some political benefit to having the person break the law, or that person is a good person, there are all kinds of extenuating circumstances in which people don't have to obey the law and they can't be punished for not obeying the law. Does that apply to you and me, or just illegal aliens?
Well, I think, as you know, you're taking to an extreme and not portraying accurately what their argument is.
Nancy Pelosi congratulated people for coming here illegally.
Well, in the case of the DREAM Act kids, they were brought here as small children. And so in the same way that if there's a kid in a car seat in the back seat and the parent is speeding, technically the child is breaking the law because they are speeding. But they aren't the ones who are at fault, and that's the root of the disagreement.
But no, it's not, though. It's not. Actually, if I could just extend the analogy, though, we're taking off the table the idea of punishing their parents, who are consenting adults who saddled us with this problem of their children. It is a problem. And they're not being punished either. They're getting amnesty, too.
But well, the question about DACA was not about the parents. It's about the kids. And what the president outlined in his original immigration policy was one that a lot of Americans agreed with, which was that he was going to start by deporting the quote-unquote bad hombres and violent criminals. And what we have seen over the first year in office is that's not what he did at all. They're going and finding doctors and people that are professionals and people that have been here for 40 years, and just on a bang-for-the-buck basis, it strikes me as an odd way to go about it.
So Patrick, really quick, if you could disobey a law, what would it be, and what would your excuse be that would satisfy the left under these new standards?
No, there would be none. There would be none. On the other hand, I know I have met Austin. Don't know if he remembers. I have actually great deal of respect for Austin.
Yeah.
You know, this is America. We're not going to go round up 11 million people. I'm not in that camp. We're not going to go do that. There has to be some path of forgiveness and citizenship and stuff. And I actually think that Trump took a very constructive step forward last night. So anyway, just wanted to say that. I thought his speech was great. And I didn't support Trump. I didn't vote for him, didn't support him. I thought he did an amazing job.
He's been winning over at least one business executive. Thank you both for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.